All right, let's talk about the real world of cybersecurity. Not the compliance checklists, not the checkboxes. We're going to dive into a totally different way of thinking about security. A philosophy that says the only way to be truly secure is to think exactly like the people who want to break in.
So let's start with this tagline, the storm that protects. Kind of grabs you, right? It's this powerful idea that real safety isn't found by just sitting back and waiting. It's about creating your own controlled storm to find every single weakness before someone else does. But why is that so critical right now?
Because this is what organizations are dealing with day in and day out. It's just a relentless barrage. 1 minute, boom, a critical zero-day pops up in a library that's basically everywhere. And then, the very next minute, you get an alert that a ransomware crew is going after hospitals, of all places. And before you can even process that, there's news of a massive breach at a huge cloud provider. I mean, this constant, chaotic flood of threats, that's the modern digital battlefield. That's the normal. So, with all that chaos, you have to wonder, are the standard shields we all put up actually doing the job? And that brings us to what you might call the illusion of security. Look, a lot of organizations lean on automated scanners. And hey, that's not a terrible place to start. They're great for catching the obvious stuff, the low-hanging fruit. But if that's all you rely on, you're creating this dangerous, false sense of security. It's kind of like having a shield, sure, but a shield that's secretly riddled with these tiny, invisible cracks that only a really skilled adversary knows how to find.
Okay, so if the automated tools are just casting a wide net, what's the alternative? Well, this is where you see a huge split in approaches, a path that trades that sheer volume for surgical precision. Let's call it scanners versus surgeons.
And this really breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have scanners. They find the known vulnerabilities, right? The CVEs you see on the news. But on the other side, you have surgical manual exploitation. This isn't about finding bugs that everyone already knows about. It's about hunting for flaws that are completely unique to your business logic. It's about finding weaknesses in how different parts of your system trust each other, the kind of complex architectural flaw an automated tool would just be totally blind to.
Now, to pull off that kind of surgical operation, you can't just download some off-the-shelf tool. No way. You need something custom-built for the job. And this takes us inside what AsefaSec calls its tactical arsenal. So here's the key thing to understand. This isn't just a folder full of programs. It's a whole suite of proprietary, custom-built weapons. These are frameworks and recon tools that were specifically engineered to move faster and think smarter than the standard security products they're testing. They're built to outpace the defense.
And, we don't need to get lost in the super technical details, but a screen like this gives you a feel for the level we're talking about. C2 Core is attacker speak for command and control, and mil-stand encryption, well, that's a military standard. This is so far beyond your average scanner, this is the kind of stuff used in serious offensive campaigns. And here we go again, another peek behind the curtain. This shows the surgical nature of it all. They're not just throwing a generic exploit, they're deploying a custom payload to test for a really complex vulnerability, trying to trick a database by manipulating time. This is what a sophisticated, real-world attack actually looks like in practice.
But here's what's so important to remember. Vulnerabilities are not just in the code. A truly advanced adversary knows that an organization is a whole ecosystem. And that's why the simulation has to get way bigger, testing the people, the processes, and even the physical perimeters.
This is what AsefaSec calls a full-scope adversarial simulation. And the phrase to really grab onto here is entire organization. The attack surface is no longer just your servers and your website. Nope. It's now every single employee, every internal rule, and yeah, even the physical doors to the building. So it breaks down into these 4 pillars. First, you've got the digital exploitation. That's the hacking we all think about. But then they move on to business logic flaws. Can they trick your core processes into doing something they shouldn't? Next up, the human factor. Can they social engineer an employee into giving up access? And finally, the physical breach. Can they just walk right in and plug a device into your network? It's a complete, holistic test of how you'd stand up to an attack in the real world.
Okay, so you've run this incredibly intense full-scope simulation. You found all the cracks in the code, in the processes, maybe even in the walls. What now? Well, the whole point of that storm wasn't just to find weaknesses. It was to use that intelligence to build much, much stronger armor. And this right here is the critical final step. All that intel gathered from the attack, what they call threat telemetry, gets paired up in real time with verified plans to fix it. So it's not just a report that says, hey, this is broken. It's an instant blueprint that says, here's what's broken and here's exactly how to fix it.
And this number, this says it all, 99.9% sync fidelity. What that means is there's a nearly perfect translation from the offensive findings to the defensive actions. It's the promise that that simulated storm leads directly to a stronger defense with basically nothing lost in translation.
So, at the end of the day, it really leaves us with one massive question. After seeing the difference between just a simple scan and a full-on adversarial simulation, you've got to ask yourself, is your defense built to just pass a test, or is it built to defeat a real adversary? Because that answer is the difference between true security and just the illusion of it.